Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and over the years, we have gotten a ton of LEGO San Diego Comic-Con exclusive minifigures, most of which are for superheroes, some of which even for Ninjago, and all sorts of other themes. And today, I decided to showcase every single one of the LEGO Comic-Con exclusive figures, San Diego, New York, and even throwing in some other event exclusives like Inside Tour exclusive figures and Bionicle masks, as well as some other LEGO employee event figures, to have pretty much, as far as I can tell, the almost 100% complete collection of these really unique, rare, and exclusive event minifigures. So let's jump on into the collection, and I also will be diving in to the approximate value of each minifigure and how much it would cost to get them all. Let's go. Okay, so we're here at San Diego Comic-Con 2024, and we've brought every single event-exclusive LEGO minifigure pretty much in all of LEGO history.
Yep, we got them all. The stipulation is it has to be truly one-to-one exclusive to packaging, so figures that were released elsewhere or things like that, we kind of decided didn't make the cut, but let's start taking a look at them now.
Let's do it! So this is pretty crazy. By my count, there are around 50 different items that we actually managed to not only showcase in one video, but also bring to San Diego Comic-Con 2024 on site at the LEGO booth. And special thanks to the employees at the LEGO booth for basically letting us come in early and film these videos. Y'all were awesome, and this would not have been possible without you. So here's the deal. I want to address a couple of things going into this because the way that I decided what figures and items to showcase in this video is pretty specific, but trust me, when all is said and done, it's gonna totally make sense. So gathered before you, you can see an assortment of almost every single one of the San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, and other Toy Fair exclusive minifigures they've released over the years. I have also included the 4 LEGO Manager Conference exclusive minifigures because they are 1, exclusives, and 2, came in the same exact blister packs as the Comic-Con figures, and I have also included the exclusive minifigures from some of the Comic-Con exclusive sets, like the Captain Marvel set, which came with an exclusive version of Maria Rambeau, and the Aquaman set, which came with a version of Aquaman that technically was exclusive because of a different style of hairpiece, even though that you could piece them together using parts that came in other sets. I am not including the exclusive minifigures from the 2020 Comic-Con sets because, due to the pandemic, those were released widely available across just Amazon and other store retailers, so really anybody could get them, even if you didn't go to Comic-Con because there was no Comic-Con that year. So while those were intended to be Comic-Con exclusive figures, they no longer are, and I'm also not including every single one of the other blister pack exclusive minifigures because there have been a ton. There have been ones that have popped up for stuff like the LEGO UK store opening, the Lester minifigure, who later was released in a polybag. There also have been minifigures that were created using existing LEGO pieces, but just mashed up in different ways, like this minifigure for a Philly store opening, which I own, and it's almost impossible to track down every single one because there have been so many different ones, but I did want to showcase a few of those in this video just to have some representative samples. The same goes for the specialized bricks that appeared in some of these same packages, such as the Brick Friday brick or the 100 LEGO Stores brick. I included those as examples of other items that have been included in these packages, but again, I did want to showcase mostly just the exclusive minifigures. And finally, we have a couple of honorable mentions here. There were some pre-release minifigures given out, such as Superman back at the New York Comic-Con, which later appeared in a set, as well as, more famously, the Hobbit minifigures. Azog and Bard the Bowman were minifigures that were appearing in the later waves of Hobbit sets. There is literally no difference in these minifigures from what was actually given out in the standard LEGO items, but because they were given away for free exclusively at Comic-Con for a period of time, I did want to at least mention them in this video because they do come in these standard Comic-Con blister packs. The same goes for the DC Superhero Girls Batgirl mini doll, which also was a pre-release figure that was given away at Comic-Con, but later did appear in official sets. With all of those out of the way, there's just one last item I have to mention, and that is the only inside tour item on this list, and that is a Bionicle mask, and we'll talk about that one when we get to the Bionicle mask section, because that is kind of its own category onto itself. Lastly, I do want to mention that yes, of course, there are tons and tons of other exclusive LEGO San Diego Comic-Con sets, many of which include minifigures, such as this recreation of the Law & Order comic book to tease LEGO Batman 2006 and the video game, which included versions of the Batman and Joker minifigures, which we did get in the actual sets. We also did get this Batman the video game minifigure case, which was exclusive to Comic-Con, but again, the minifigs inside are not exclusive, so I'm not covering those here. And then of course we have a slew of other exclusive sets that I personally have covered on the channel, like the Hobbit sets, the Star Wars sets, and even some of the micro builds here and there, which all come with minifigures like this one from Man of Steel, recreating Action Comics #1 Superman, but again, not necessarily something that has an exclusive minifigure, so maybe I'll have to save that for a future video that goes into all of the exclusive sets, because that is something else entirely. Oh boy. And with all of that out of the way, let's just go into every single one of the exclusive minifigures from Comic-Con year by year. We'll all be providing the information on how you could obtain those today, the approximate value, and how much it costs to own every single one. So, with all the exceptions out of the way, let's jump in. The very first minifigure-based Comic-Con exclusives came out in 2011. While LEGO had a presence in Comic-Con all the way back in the early 2000s, even advertising some Bionicle 2004 exclusives at Comic-Con, they didn't start having minifigure exclusives until 2011, and that all began with a set of 3 different minifigures. Comic-Con Green Lantern and Batman were released in San Diego Comic-Con, as well as New York Comic-Con, with the addition of Superman coming in as well. Strangely enough, all 3 of these figures were marketed as early release exclusives for LEGO DC superheroes to make a massive comeback the next year in 2012, although out of the 3 minifigures, only Superman was unchanged from his original Comic-Con counterpart, and Batman and Green Lantern were completely unique, Green Lantern himself not appearing until a few more years later. Because of that, the Green Lantern minifigure is worth around $1,300 and is based off of the Ryan Reynolds' infamous Green Lantern movie outfit with the dark green costume and the very CGI-looking suit. Batman is based off of the Dark Knight suit, which costs around $2,000 with the packaging, and these are both for the San Diego Comic-Con versions. And if you wanted to get the New York Comic-Con exclusive version of the packaging, there really is not a big difference other than the logos on the bottom. It'll cost you around $1,200 for Green Lantern or $5,000 for Batman, much more expensive. And yes, if you want to get the cardboard for Superman, even though the minifigure did come out in sets, it is somehow the rarest of them all at $6,000. I'm sure glad I don't collect packaging, because otherwise I would have to add that to my collection. Moving on from that, we started to get more standard Comic-Con exclusives in 2012, and you may notice that the packaging for these are still using a cardboard backing variant, where we wouldn't actually get these specialized cases until the next year. In Comic-Con 2012 in San Diego, we got a ton of minifigures. Shazam, aka Captain Marvel for DC, which nowadays costs around $700 US. You can see it has an alternate face as well as a white cape, and would be the first time we would get Shazam, who wouldn't appear in any LEGO sets until many years later in 2019. We also got for DC Bizarro, which costs around $1,200 now, and unfortunately still has yet to appear in any other LEGO form other than a more juniorized cartoonish Mighty Micros form with short legs, so we've never actually gotten a standard Bizarro minifigure since then. And then on the Marvel side of things, we have Jean Grey aka Phoenix for $1,100 US, one of the first X-Men characters we got, and we did just get a new Jean Grey minifigure in the X-Mansion that just came out in November of this year. And otherwise, we basically did not see Jean Grey as a minifigure since this reveal. Lastly, rounding out the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, we had the 2012 Black Suit Spider-Man. This will cost you around $1,600, mostly because of the iconic suit. And the very crazy thing is that the torso was literally used for Venom in regular release sets, meaning that the only exclusive part of this figure, since it has plain black legs, is the very simple white eyes on the black head. Unfortunately, since then, LEGO has still not given us another version of the incredibly iconic black suit Spider-Man, and I have to imagine that as soon as LEGO does give us that minifigure again, even if they make it completely different, which I'm sure at some point they will have to do it, this minifigure will probably go down in value. But as of right now, because of that head, it's the only way to get Black Suit Spider-Man. Moving on to New York Comic Con in the same year of 2012, we received 2 exclusive minifigures related to the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles license, which was launching at the start of 2013. We had Shadow Leonardo, which goes for around $3,000 US, which was released via a raffle in New York Comic Con in October. And this actually had a skateboard with an exclusive sticker on it that showcased the Comic-Con logo, which is one of the only times that LEGO has actually put the Comic-Con logo on a physical product. The other time they tried to do this was back in 2004 with Toa Metru Vakama's Kanoka disc, but due to supply chain issues, this was actually never distributed. And guess who purchased it received the regular disc and a note saying sorry for the confusion. So really, it's one of the rarest items ever, but the crazy thing is, in 2013, we got this released again. 400 copies of this were given away in a limited edition tin, this time without the Comic-Con sticker on the skateboard, given away to children who dressed as turtles at the Entertainer Toy Store at the Westfield Shopping Centre in February 2013 in the UK, which is a very, very specific type of giveaway. I can't imagine more than 400 kids even came dressed up as the Ninja Turtles in February 2013, but you know what? That was the other distribution method, and it was definitely one of the strangest. Also in 2012, we got the New York Comic Con Krang for $1,100 today, and it also was an exclusive minifigure available to the first 300 people to visit the LEGO store at Rockefeller Center on October 13th, and they did have to be dressed as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. So really they were going on the theming of you need to come in outfit to get it, to make sure only the superfans were getting their hands on it. This is a really cool minifigure because it actually represents a battle-damaged version of the Krang suit. These are the disguises that the evil aliens use to infiltrate society, and I think it's definitely one of the most unique minifigures that we got from the Ninja Turtles lineup, because you can see it kind of looks like an ordinary businessman, but with a much more sinister technological and robotic side underneath. It's just such a cool figure. Also in 2012, which seemed to be a pretty crazy year for Comic-Con exclusives, we received the Toy Fair 2012 Iron Man. Nowadays, this costs anywhere between $6,000 to $14,000, and it is one of the rarest minifigures ever on this list, although there are going to be some that even eclipse it in price. We also got the Toy Fair 2012 Captain America, the Bucky Barnes variant, which thankfully is a lot cheaper, costing only around $2,000 today. Now, what's the story behind these, and why is one so much more expensive than the other? Well, the thing is, these were promotional comic book variant figures of Iron Man and Cap that were initially given away at the International Toy Fair in New York on February 12th, 2012, limited to only 125 copies. However, extra copies were distributed to LEGO employees, some of which were even authorized to sell them online, and they were also given away as competition prizes to promote the LEGO Superheroes Movie Maker app worldwide. The exact circulation amount of these figures is pretty unknown given the random amount just kind of given away to LEGO employees, but based on all records out there, the Captain America figure is a lot more common than Iron Man. There just seem to be a lot more made, which is why that one is far less expensive. As it goes, it's one of the only versions of Bucky Barnes in the Captain America suit that we ever got, and this is also the only version of Iron Man that we got with just a printed head, without any sort of molded head whatsoever, which is super cool because, again, this was right around when the LEGO Avengers sets were about to release, so it almost felt like a bit of a pre-release for LEGO Marvel until we actually got the final Avengers movie sets. Moving on to 2013, we got another slew of Comic-Con minifigures. For San Diego Comic-Con, we received Spider-Woman, which now goes for around $6,000, and that price has only increased due to her brief but memorable cameo in Across the Spider-Verse. This is a really detailed, iconic suit, and I'm honestly kind of surprised that LEGO hasn't gone back and done it. It's really cool just how well produced this figure is, with an alternate very angry expression with the eyes narrowed and a scowl on the face, as well as a more regular expression for the front. It's just really well done. It's very flashy with the bright yellow and bright red color scheme. And while nowadays this minifigure would probably feature dual molded legs, this was before they had the technology to do so they just have the printing on the front of the legs. I personally would love to see LEGO tackle this figure again. I totally feel like they could just put it in a standard Spider-Man set, but I guess they have other priorities for LEGO Marvel, and that's why we haven't gotten one since. Then we get to one of the most infamous and rarest LEGO Marvel exclusive minifigures yet, and that is the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man minifigure, which nowadays goes for a whopping $12,000 to $15,000 US dollars. Here's the thing, this was basically the only time you could get the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man Amazing Spider-Man figure really ever. There were no other releases of this figure up until we just got the No Way Home set just last year, but even then, it was still not quite the same. It didn't have the same style of printed legs, and yes, while you could argue the dual mold legs were a lot better for the newer figure, some people really like this more comic book style of design. You can almost like see the Ditko dots on the side of the actual webbing itself. It's really well produced, and it's definitely one of the most interesting Spider-Man minifigures to get. I actually predicted the value of this figure would decrease after folks were able to get their hands on the Amazing Spider-Man via the new LEGO No Way Home set, but it looks like the value is just going higher and higher, which is pretty crazy. Of course, it skyrocketed around the release of No Way Home when everybody needed to have all three Spider-Man as LEGO minifigures, but even now that we have a substitute, this is still super rare. Moving on from that, for DC, we got a couple of minifigures. In 2013, we got the Black Suit Superman, which now retails for around $5,000 to $6,000, which again was skyrocketed by the popularity of Zack Snyder's Justice League featuring this version of Superman in the Man of Steel suit, but in black. The head and hair is just the same as the standard Superman minifigure, but what's special is the all-black version of the Man of Steel suit. LEGO was really hitting it with a lot of heavy hitters in 2013, with a duo of minifigures that would be very, very relevant in media years down the line. I guess that whatever they were cooking up during 2013, I guess the LEGO designers were kind of prophets in that sense. The other DC minifigure was Green Arrow, which goes for around $6,000 today. While this sort of was meant to kind of be a promotional tie-in with the Arrowverse, specifically the Arrow show, which was very popular around the time, it wasn't explicitly based off of the show. And if you look at the suit, it's much more based off of the comic suit. It doesn't really match anything that was worn by Stephen Amell in the TV show, although we would later get more accurate Arrowverse figures down the line. Unfortunately, he didn't come with any sort of accessory, although we would get the green bow in the other Green Arrow minifigures we would later on get for other DC Comics superhero sets, but the reason why all of these San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figures are so rare is that for whatever reason, they produced a much more limited number of these figures for this year as opposed to literally any of the other years, and strangely enough, the packaging for this year is different. While it may look the same with the standard clamshell, there actually is the divot on the front of the packaging when you open it instead of on the back, meaning that you actually have an exclusive type of packaging as well, making these just that much more rare. Because of that, in 2013, we also got our first Hobbit-themed minifigure, and this was the Orc Azog, which now goes for around $2,500. I did mention this one at the beginning as being a non-exclusive minifigure. Again, this was kind of just a pre-release, so while I'm not necessarily adding it onto this list of exclusives, I do want to call it out because it is literally just that packaging that will set you back $2,500. Also in 2013, they held the Minecon event, and strangely enough, we got a buildable LEGO Minecraft Steve character. This was actually well before the release of LEGO Minecraft's minifigure-based sets in 2014, so technically this was our first non-micro Steve figure, and it does actually come with the exclusive head print as well as a tile which showcases Minecon from November 2 to 3 in 2013 in Orlando, Florida. This is one of the strangest LEGO event exclusives, but given that it kind of belongs on this list, it was at some sort of a convention and an exclusive item, I just had to call this one out. It's really hard to find a price for this one. I personally paid a couple $100s for mine, but I would kind of put it at around $300 to $400, but it is really hard to say exactly how much this is worth because you simply don't see that many for sale. I don't think a lot of people even know about this one. And then in 2013, we move on to New York Toy Fair. For New York Toy Fair 2013, a New York I Love Yoda was given away, and it also was given away at the Times Square LEGO Star Wars promotional event. Now, technically, there are two different versions of this figure. There's Yoda with white hair and Yoda with gray hair, but honestly, I really don't have the need to spend $3,000 to buy two copies of these figures just to have like one of the hairs be different. Maybe that will change later later down the line, and I know some people are very, very tight on their collection and really mean, well, you gotta have both versions for it to be complete, but for me, owning just one is okay. The other strange thing about this is in 2013, there was a holocron chamber set that was given away to journalists in May 2013 to promote the premiere of LEGO Star Wars The Yoda Chronicles, and also available at the launch event on May 23rd, 2013. Inside this LEGO set was a minifigure that technically can be pieced together using existing pieces, but this was a female Padawan minifigure that went alongside Yoda in the set. It is just kind of a strange little minifigure because it is one of those figures that you can make out of existing pieces, so it's not necessarily exclusive, but if you want to get this one on Bricklink right now, it's going to cost you around $250, although I will fully admit, I just now spent around $30 to buy all of the individual pieces from one store, so don't buy the Bricklink listings. Honestly, it's good enough to just get the individual pieces by themselves. You're going to save a lot of money if you just have to have this exclusive figure. Moving on from that, we can take a look at 2014 though, and we get to San Diego Comic-Con 2014. Now, we had a whole slew of different minifigures here, but strangely enough, this was actually the end of having 2 minifigures for DC and Marvel. Instead, we just got 1 each, and other themes got the spotlight. For Marvel, we turn to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and in our first MCU-based Comic-Con exclusive minifigure, and only MCU-based Comic-Con exclusive, we got the Collector, who appeared prominently in Guardians of the Galaxy right after appearing in the end credit scene of Thor: The Dark World. The Collector, of course, was the person who dumped the lore of the Infinity Stones in one of the most important events in the entire Infinity Saga, who played a pretty crucial role in Guardians of the Galaxy, and because of that, if you want this minifigure, it's going to cost you around $1,100 US. It's really cool how they actually use the white cape from Warriors from LEGO Legends of Chima. I feel like it fits the figure really well, and for the accessory, they actually gave him the little container he used to hold the ether, presumably because this minifigure was being designed right around his appearance in that end credit scene, so they had to give him an appropriate accessory. He has 2 different faces, a more standard neutral expression and an angry expression, which I think fit the figure really well, and the vest is super interesting too. I think for an exclusive figure, having the Collector be a minifigure that, well, you have to collect for your collection just makes total sense. I think it is a really perfect choice. It's not a character that people are going to absolutely freak out if they don't own, like maybe some of the other characters on this list, but it's also one that is just niche enough that's a good exclusive for an event. I would rank this as a pretty good exclusive, although if we're talking about which ones I think are the best, that's a whole other video. For DC, we got Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, which goes for around $1,200 US. Now this is really interesting because if you research the comics history of the Zur-En-Arrh Batman, there's actually 2 incredibly different versions of this character. There's one that's like a very goofy version where he's like an alien named Tlano from the planet Zur-En-Arrh who became a version of Batman for his own planet, so it's a much more goofy version, but then when he reappeared in the 2000s, he was rebranded as a violent and unhinged backup personality of Batman, but then the alien version also exists in the main continuity, so it's very confusing, and to pay homage to this incredibly confusing comics character, LEGO decided to give him 2 wildly different facial expressions. One that was the alien version, which is very happy and smiling, which is a very uncharacteristic look for Batman, and one that is very angry, extremely violent with the teeth gritted and stubble around the beard. I just think it's really funny how this is such an obscure piece of comics lore, and LEGO decided to make it into a minifigure because it is just so unique in the way it works. It's a really cool figure, definitely a very unique color scheme compared to a lot of other Batman figures out there, and it did come with the Bat Cowl in the purple color, which was a super cool color to get. In fact, we would not actually see the purple cowl version of the Batman hood really ever after this minifigure came out, which is a very, very special type of color to get. Moving on from that, though, in 2014, we also got a Hobbit exclusive minifigure for Bard the Bowman. Again, this was technically not exclusive. He later appeared in the later 2014 and 2015 sets for the Battle of the Five Armies. So Bard the Bowman, not an exclusive figure, $400 right now, and really, you're just going to be paying for the packaging when it comes to that one, which again, I feel like it doesn't really belong on this list. But then we also got one for the Lego Movie in 2014, which was an exclusive Unikitty figure. Because the Unikitty character isn't quite as popular as some of the other superheroes characters, this one only goes for around $400 or even $300 on Bricklink, but it did come with two expressions, a cutesy kitty and cheery kitty expression, making this actually technically an exclusive character to get for the LEGO Movie in 2014. Moving on from that, we also got my favorite, a LEGO Bionicle exclusive piece. Comic-Con got the Tahu mask, the Mask of Fire, in transparent clear. And this goes for around $280, especially because fan sites like BZ Power were given gigantic Ziplocs of extra copies of this mask to give out, and I just talked to some of the owners and they still have those to give out as contest prizes, so there is really no dearth of these masks. However, what's much more rare is at New York Comic Con in 2014, there was a VIP version of this that was given away to participants in an invite-only event at the Flatiron District LEGO brand store in New York. Only 100 versions of this item were ever released, meaning that this costs around $3,000 US just for the packaging. And I'm incredibly lucky to have actually been gifted my copy by the co-creator of Bionicle, Christian Faber. One copy was given to him due to his involvement in bringing back Bionicle for G2, and on my recent trip to Denmark, he found out I didn't have it and just gave it to me so I could have a complete collection. So I'm very grateful to Christian Faber for doing this, and thank you so much, and it's really cool to actually have both of them factored in. Moving on from that, also around 2014 moving into 2015 for the LEGO Inside Tour in 2015, on the topic of Bionicle, we received a transparent blue Gali mask, the Mask of Water. This is the only Inside Tour exclusive item I'm featuring on this list, and the only reason I'm including it is because this list really encompasses minifigures and exclusive character-based items, so stuff like Unikitty, that's a character, but it's on the list, as well as the Bionicle masks. It basically is like a minifigure because it is a character mask, so this one was given in the same packaging as the Comic-Con exclusives, but this one was an elemental version of the Mask of Water for G2, which goes for around $4,300, making it one of the rarest LEGO Bionicle masks in general that you can purchase. Moving on from that, for the rest of 2015, we have a slew of San Diego Comic-Con minifigures, one for DC, and that is Arsenal for $410 on Bricklink right now. Arsenal is directly based off of the Arrowverse, and this one is actually branded alongside his appearance in Arrow, so you can see the leather jacket, the classic CW costume look for the character. He also does come with a black recurve bow this time, which is a nice accessory to get. Not an exclusive one, but just good that he does come with the accessory, and two different expressions on the face as well, and it's a super cool minifigure to pair alongside the Green Arrow minifigure from 2013, although I still really wish we did get an Arrow CW version of the minifigure given just how iconic that version of the character is. And yes, I do know versions of those characters for the Arrowverse were produced for LEGO Dimensions. The Flash and Arrow were both supposed to appear before Dimensions was cancelled. I don't need a reminder, that is very sad, and alas, they never actually were released. Moving on from that though, we also got a Marvel minifigure, and that is the Sam Wilson version of Captain America in 2015. It was marketed as all new Captain America Sam Wilson and goes for around $650 right now. What's also interesting is they also promoted Secret Wars on the packaging, and I have to wonder with the release of the new Captain America movie next year as well as the upcoming Avengers Secret Wars movie, maybe the value of this figure will skyrocket. Although it is unfortunate that due to the size of the packaging, they couldn't include the traditional wings that he would use as Captain America, so right now he just doesn't have the wings, although it's very easy to just use the ones from the sets and give it to him. As of now, that was the only version of Sam Wilson Captain America we would get in years until the MCU actually decided to cover this, and nowadays we get all sorts of figures like it, even one as a book exclusive. LEGO Bionicle even got in on the fun when it came to SDCC 2015, where we got a transparent neon green version of the Skull Scorpio mask. This now goes for around $180 because again, many copies of this were given away to Bionicle fan sites to use as prizes, but this ends the Bionicle exclusive items for this list. Only 3 were made for Bionicle G2. LEGO clearly was trying to bring back the hype of Bionicle G1, having actual Comic-Con and event exclusives, although alas, Bionicle fans in the audience all know how that reboot went. And moving on, we can take a look at 2016. Our first exclusive is actually from New York Comic Con 2016. Seemingly LEGO kind of did these every other year where sometimes they would have exclusives, sometimes they wouldn't, but this was technically a minifigure that would later be released in standard LEGO sets the next year, but this was Batgirl, which goes for around $100 right now, because really the only exclusive thing is the packaging. This minifigure is the mini doll version of Batgirl from DC's Superhero Girls, which LEGO made to promote the brand new line, and while it is basically the same figure included in the sets, this was your first early way to be able to get the figure. It's honestly not the most exciting thing because again, this technically doesn't really even belong on the list due to not being an exclusive figure, but it's something I wanted to call out because it does have exclusive packaging and really just belongs with the full collection. By San Diego Comic-Con, though, we did get a few more interesting figures, only one each for this year for DC and Marvel. DC went to the Arrowverse once more, giving us Adam, who first appeared in Arrow, and The Flash, and then Legends of Tomorrow, and all of the associated crossovers. As somebody who grew up watching all of the Arrowverse and who unfortunately saw every single episode of every season of every show, even though towards the end I kind of regret that, it was very cool to get Adam as a minifigure. Actually getting the fully detailed suit is really nice, and it's definitely one of the most detailed Comic-Con exclusive figures we've gotten. I'm really happy with the design of this minifigure overall. Just the technological detail and the fact that he literally comes with a Palmer Technologies circuit board is so cool, and the helmet actually works really well too. The very angry face is maybe not something that suits Ray Palmer that well, but I think the very happy smile is something that totally fits the character, and it's really cool because obviously this character was used again and again and again, even as they went into Legends of Tomorrow, so I'm very happy that we actually did get this as a figure, and I think it is a really good version of the character to get from the Arrowverse. Also for Comic-Con 2016, we got the Steve Rogers version of Captain America. This goes for around $900 to $1,000 US today, and it's a really clean version of Cap. It's also the only version of Captain America outside of the CMFs that we've ever gotten that actually has printed legs, which is a little sad, I will say. I think LEGO Marvel kind of is notorious for giving us minifigures that are not as detailed as arguably they should be, and I do find it kind of funny that literally the only time Cap has had printed legs is in this very hard to find Comic-Con exclusive, but overall, you can see that this is a really nicely detailed figure. Unlike many of the MCU variants, which are dark blue, this one is actually using the brighter blue color and the triangular shaped shield, making this one of the rarest LEGO shields ever. Personally, as an aside, I am trying to start a collection of every single LEGO printed shield element, and this is definitely going to be the hardest one to obtain another copy of. Moving on from that, we can take a look at San Diego Comic-Con 2017, where we also only had two minifigures. On the DC front, we had Vixen, who first appeared in her own animated TV show and then crossed over with Arrow in Season 4, and later was used in Legends of Tomorrow except with a different iteration of the character. This one was based off of the Legends of Tomorrow version of the character, which was the more important kind of modern version that was really the most relevant thing to showcase during that time. Although to be completely honest, I really am not convinced this was the best exclusive to get. Vixen is not one of the most interesting characters to get from the Arrowverse, and I think a lot of people would have preferred maybe something like an Arrowverse Reverse Flash or a Flash, or even something like the Dark Archer, because during that time they were fighting the Legion of Doom, something a little bit more interesting than just one of the random side characters. And I have to admit that since this was around 2017, this was literally right around when they were working on LEGO Dimensions, and again, we know from development files we were supposed to get a CW Flash version in Dimensions, and I hate to admit, but it probably is that they would have used CW Flash as the minifigure here, if not for the fact that they were like, oh, we'll just put him out in Dimensions next year. But sadly, history is history, Dimensions was cancelled, and instead we did get Vixen as the minifigure. It goes for around $250, and while it is always good to get characters from the Arrowverse, I really just wish it was something a little bit more iconic. Also in 2017, we got one of my personal favorite Comic-Con exclusives, and that is, of course, Deadpool Duck, which goes for around $900 US right now. What's pretty crazy is, obviously, we brought all these minifigures to Comic-Con this year, and while we were walking out of the door, we ran into Rob Liefeld, the creator of Deadpool, so I whipped this minifigure out, Jonathan whipped out the Sheriff Deadpool minifigure, and we both got a picture with Rob Liefeld with the Deadpool versions of the characters, so I think it's perfect. Jonathan being being from Nashville, had the Sheriff Deadpool, and I, being from Duck Bricks, got the Deadpool Duck, so it totally worked out. And this is actually really interesting because this actually uses the Donald Duck headpiece from Disney, and it's one of the only times a Disney-specific mold has been used in a separate IP, but I guess they were able to make that work because Disney does own Marvel after all. But it's really cool, a very fun variant to get, and definitely one of the most interesting ones on this list. Moving on to 2018, we got 3 different characters, and that is starting off with Black Lightning, our other Arrowverse character, which now goes for around $400 US. Black Lightning is a character that basically started off in his own universe, but after Crisis on Infinite Earths, his world merged with all of the worlds into Earth Prime, making him one of the key lineups of their version of the Justice League in the Arrowverse, even though that iteration didn't really last that long. It's a really well-produced minifigure, and while the character might not be quite as popular as some of the other characters in the Arrowverse, I think it totally did make sense for them to do him as a minifigure because that's when the show was launching, and he definitely was set to appear in the future crossovers, so it made sense to include him as the next Arrowverse figure. As far as the figure's concerned, it's really well produced, and I really like how you can see how the lightning bolt texture is kind of almost like transparent through the suit. You have these individual like dots on the lightning bolt that really makes it feel like it's glowing, and you have all these different technological lines around it. It's a really well done suit, and I'm very happy with this minifigure and the alternate expression as well. If only he had like a lightning accessory piece. I always feel like the Comic-Con figures should have had more accessories with them, but it is still a really nice minifigure to get, and definitely one of my favorites out of the Arrowverse. For Marvel, we got the Comic-Con 2018 Sheriff Deadpool minifigure, and obviously, given his latest appearance in Deadpool and Wolverine, played by Matthew McConaughey of all people, the popularity of this figure has skyrocketed. If you want to get one, you can get one right now for around $1,800 US on Bricklink, and I'm sure that price is only going to go up, especially because the latest LEGO Marvel special did actually feature Deadpool in the end credits using the exact headpiece from this minifigure, which is so bizarre how they even pulled it off, given LEGO's general aversion to Deadpool in modern history. This minifigure had exclusive printed torso, legs, and head, as well as the really nice tan cowboy hat, and is definitely one of the most interesting and strange Deadpool variants we've ever gotten. And I really like how you can literally just use the headpiece for Deadpool just having a different expression, so it was a pretty ubiquitous figure as well, and the last version of Deadpool we would ever see in physical LEGO form. Nowadays, it's literally been confirmed by LEGO designers during our latest interviews with the Marvel designers at Fan Media Days over in September at LEGO headquarters that whether it's LEGO or Disney, there is a rule somewhere that does not allow LEGO to touch Deadpool ever again, mostly because of his association with the R-rated movies, which I think is very sad. Maybe if they include him in Avengers Secret Wars, that's the only reason why I could ever see them including a Deadpool minifigure again, but given LEGO's very strict policy against R-rated and adult-oriented stuff, I don't think they're ever going to touch it unless something big changed. Moving on from that, the third 2018 Comic-Con exclusive minifigure was the Apocalypseburg version of Unikitty, made to promote the LEGO Movie 2, which was coming out the next year in 2019. This is a really nicely produced character, obviously using the dual-molded spiked tail. You have the expression being a very angry expression versus a more neutral angry expression, and it's a really nicely produced figure, although again, this one isn't that popular because it is just a Unikitty variant, so if you want to get this one, it only costs around $200 right now on Bricklink. Also in 2018, as part of the exclusive LEGO DC and Marvel sets that they were releasing around the time, we got a couple of different sets, but only one of them technically had an exclusive minifigure, and that was set number 75996, Aquaman and Storm. The reason for this is because they basically used the existing Aquaman minifigure, except instead of the long, bright yellow hair that he has, we got short, bright light yellow hair, which originated from Draco Malfoy from Harry Potter in the same year. It's a kind of minifigure that, yes, you can literally just piece together yourselves if you just have the pieces, and the regular Aquaman minifigure is pretty common. It actually appeared in 3 different sets starting in 2013, stretching across 2015 and even LEGO Dimensions, so it's a very easy minifigure to make, but technically, it is a Comic-Con exclusive, so I'm including it on the list. And yes, that is also going to add a whopping $3 to this list if you want to get him on Bricklink right now, because I suspect most people have realized you can literally just piece this one together. Still, it was cool to get technically an exclusive variant of a comic book character in an exclusive set, and many more of these will be coming down the line. Now in 2019, we got something pretty strange and we got a slew of exclusive LEGO DC and Marvel themed sets. One of those sets was Captain Marvel and the Aces. And technically, there was an exclusive minifigure in the set in the form of Maria Rambeau, Captain Marvel's friend. This is one of the strangest exclusive minifigs ever, because obviously this wasn't like a super special character that only was included in a special pack. It literally was just meant to supplement the set. But what's crazy is the exact facial expression of the minifigure was used for one side of the head in the Monica Rambeau collectible minifigure just a few years later. The thing is, this minifigure's head is dual-sided, so one expression is technically exclusive, while the other expression is actually reused for the collectible minifigure. It's just so bizarre how this is like technically exclusive due to a technicality. Everything else is reusing pieces, like the flight suit is actually from Star Wars, and the helmet with the breathing visor and everything, that's all from the LEGO City 2019 Sky Police. So really, the only exclusive thing is the head, and literally only half the head is exclusive. That being said, if you want to get this, it's going to cost you around $210 because it is technically an exclusive figure. However, we did get 3 normal exclusive minifigures as well. Representing the Marvel front, we had the PS4 version of Spider-Man, which now goes for around $1,400 US. It's one of my favorite LEGO minifigure versions of Spider-Man to date. It's phenomenally detailed. I just love the printing on this minifigure. The crisp white logo against the blue color of the suit is super clean, and it's just really well produced all around. I love the way they were able to produce this figure, and I really wish that they were able to put this in a more general release set, especially given the popularity of the games. Representing DC, we got another very strange Batman variant, and that was the Zebra Batman. So I'm not going to tell the lore of all these characters, but I think it actually is relevant for this one because it is so classic comic book and crazy. Basically, there's a villain named Zebra Man who we actually did get as a minifigure for the LEGO Batman movie, but he is a high-tech scientist, his machinery irradiated his entire body, and his superpowers basically can attract and repel anything besides metal, and he's also covered in black and white stripes because he's Zebra Man. So basically what he can do is he can use his powers to make somebody else zebra themed, and when he actually makes someone covered in zebra stripes, and that's literally what he did to Batman, he basically forces his powers onto Batman, turning Batman into Zebra Batman, and because he didn't have a belt like Zebra Man to neutralize the repelling force of the magnetic field that his powers generate, Zebra Batman cannot regulate his powers, but then Zebra Batman turns it on Zebra Man's head and basically uses his power of diamagnetism against him, and thus the classic story goes. A very strange choice for a minifigure, but again, the perfect Comic-Con exclusive. There's something so obscure like this that is so funny to see, and while I think it would have been even cooler to say get like arm printing and leg printing to really deck out Zebra Batman in the full stripes, it's really cool how they actually gave him a printed cape with the zebra stripes on it to represent the actual striped outfit. They also gave him printing on the side of the bat cowl, which I can't even remember if they've ever done that before, which is super cool to see printing on the side of the cowl. So overall, they kind of went all out when making this figure. It's a very funny version of Batman, and definitely one that is very iconic for Comic-Con, setting you back around $1,000 US. In 2019, to celebrate the launch of the LEGO Stranger Things set, we also got the Stranger Things Barb, which was an exclusive minifigure. Definitely a weird choice for an exclusive character to get, but I guess given that they literally covered all of the other main characters in the Stranger Things set, this was the only other one to give us. It's honestly not that interesting of a minifigure. It's kind of a boring one, but I guess given the Justice for Barb campaign and all of that, maybe LEGO was just getting ahead of the game and thought it would be a funny minifigure to produce. It's a very simple one, but it'll cost you around $900 to get, and you even have a scared alternate expression with the glasses askew, which is a very funny one to get. Not something super crazy, but a very interesting exclusive nonetheless. And finally, the last exclusive item in 2019 is one of the more unique ones. It's a set of 3 exclusive comics-based LEGO torsos. These were given away at the Build a Minifigure stations at the LEGO booth at Comic-Con, and there were no official minifigure configurations to go with them. They had a set of different heads and hairs and legs, and really the only unique aspect of the minifigures were these 3 individual torsos. They haven't really done anything like that since, but it is really cool that they actually did decide to make exclusive minifigure torsos for 2019. And thankfully, they are really inexpensive to get on the aftermarket since there were so many of them, literally bins and bins. You could probably get a set of all 3 for maybe around $30, if that. And finally, while we mentioned it in the beginning, in 2019 there was an exclusive Brick Friday 2019 brick given out for Black Friday, but there also was a minifigure given out with the same print, plain black minifigure. This was available online, so I guess technically it's not really an event exclusive, but you can see it in the same exact packaging, and it was given away at some LEGO stores, so I figured I might as well include it on the list for completion. If you want to pick this up, it's only going to cost you around $30 to $40 because this was a pretty worldwide release. Even if you weren't in North America, where Black Friday is typically celebrated, they still had Brick Friday promotions all around the world, some even happening at some random months like February 2019 in France, for instance, where you could get this minifigure online at lego.com. It's still a really interesting exclusive minifigure, just necessarily not something as crazy as other ones we've seen on the list, so let's move on. Unfortunately, the world knows what happened in 2020, which is the COVID-19 pandemic, and because of that, a lot of these in-person events were cancelled, and this marks the final year of standard LEGO Comic-Con exclusives, probably because they were so rattled by the pandemic and spent more money than it was worth to reallocate them to different ways that they just figured to shut them all down entirely, and it hasn't been until just last year in 2023 where different types of exclusives have just started to pop up. But basically, here's the deal. In 2020, we received the DC Fandom exclusive Supergirl minifigure, which now goes for around $600. I'm very happy with this one because this is the version of Supergirl with the bangs from the Arrowverse, so it really is a very iconic version of the character. It showcases her laser vision being blue just like it is in the show, and I really love the Melissa Benoist version of the character. It is a really good adaptation for the most part until they kind of went off the rails in later seasons, but I really do like the character and I feel like the actress portrayed her very well, and it's really exciting to get one of the big 3 from the Arrowverse, being Arrow, the Flash, and Supergirl, actually in minifigure form. Now, obviously, this was produced for Comic-Con, but since San Diego Comic-Con didn't happen, they decided to use it exclusively as a giveaway at the DC Fandom online raffle from August 22 to 23 in 2020. 1,495 were made, and it was repurposed for DC Fandom, and you basically just had to enter a sweepstakes and hope you got it. Unfortunately, I did enter, I did not get it, and I did have to pay around $600 for my copy, which is about how much you can spend right now, but it is a really iconic character and very, very cool to get. Similarly, for Marvel, we had a 2020 classic suit PS5 Miles Morales. Now this is even rarer, coming in at around $2,700 US. Here's the thing. Because there was no special online Marvel event, they had to make this minifigure available in a sweepstakes entered only if you beat the main story of Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4 between October 16 to 29 in 2020. 1,650 copies were made, and again, it was made to celebrate the release of the PS5 Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales game. So, there were a lot of high barriers to entry to getting this figure. It wasn't just that you had to attend an online event, you had to beat the game, and you had to prove that you beat the game in the time window of this giveaway, which is nearly impossible. I cannot even imagine how many people even got this, so it's super exclusive, super rare to get. Obviously, given the popularity of Spider-Verse and Miles Morales as a character, and again, being the only LEGO version of the character that actually has leg printing, this just was a perfect storm of being one of the rarest LEGO Spider-Man minifigures ever, and I'd bet that since this is so recent in 2020, the price is only $2,700 now, but it's probably going to go up in 5 to 10 years. And then there was a bit of a hiatus. They didn't really do any sort of exclusive minifigure since then at any sort of Comic-Con, despite the fact that Comic-Con did return. LEGO was kind of wary to continue to produce exclusive minifigures because they admittedly are pretty controversial online, with a very small minority of people really liking them, usually the people that get to actually go to the events, and I fully admit, since I did get to go this year, I'm very happy that I got exclusives there, but I also totally understand the people who say LEGO shouldn't do these as exclusives because it's just so hard for people to get characters they want. But in 2023, they started doing it again, and the giveaway for these was even more difficult than before. The way that you were able to get Comic-Con exclusive minifigs before, and I never attended Comic-Con until this year, so this is only just my understanding from what people have told me and what I know online. There was an online portal where you could sign up to be able to enter either a raffle to get a ticket to line up in a massive line to be able to get a chance to get this minifigure. So it was pretty hard, it was pretty difficult to get, and the lines were very massive. But the thing is, the next time it was even crazier, because for one, they didn't announce these minifigures, and speaking as someone who was inside the distribution this year, it was a very interesting process to say the least. Last year what happened is they had our very first Ninjago themed exclusive, which was an energized version of Baby Ryu. Casting the iconic baby dragon, which appears typically in sand blue, this time in a dark blue color to represent the elemental charge spark that it is able to give characters like Sora to use her elemental tech powers in Ninjago Dragon's Rising Season 1. While in the show, Ryu kind of glows white and not dark blue, I guess I can kind of see what they were going for with the energy crackling from the eyes. But the way to get this was that you had to get it at a LEGO Ninjago talent signing booth with my buddy Chris Doc Wyatt, aka Cook Wyatt, doing a signing, the writer of the show, alongside some of the voice actors and talent from the show, at the LEGO booth during a specific hour-long time period at SDCC 2023. Otherwise, there was literally no way to be able to get this figure. The crazy thing is, since LEGO hadn't done any Comic-Con exclusives when this was released, most people assumed this was just a pre-release minifigure similar to the Hobbit figures, and we would just get it in next year's sets. So a couple of them went for sale on eBay. They sold for around $2,000 to $3,000, but not a lot of people purchased them because I think folks just assumed we would get them in sets, which a lot of even other LEGO influencers were even telling me I was stupid for purchasing this for the amount of money I did because I would just get it in the sets next year. However, here on the Duckbricks channel, we do like to gamble, we do like to roll the dice here and there, and when I went to Fan Media Days in September of that year, I was talking to the LEGO Ninjago designers, and they were like, yeah man, not even we were able to get copies of these, and they definitely aren't going to come in any sets. So that was pretty crazy to hear, and yeah, sure enough, we never got this as an actual release in any set, meaning that this incredibly limited figure, of which there's probably only like triple digits, maybe low like hundreds, like not even multiple hundreds, like maybe over 100, like just over 100 might exist based on my calculations. I don't even know what the value is anymore. I personally paid around $2,000. I've seen them go for around $4,000, but now that everybody knows it was an exclusive, and if you want to complete your Ninjago collection, you have to have it, I could imagine this going for even like $8,000 to $10,000. It's just so hard to say. Also in 2023, they gave away a couple of other exclusives. We had a Brickbuster video minifigure exclusive, which basically was a special Be Kind Rewind torso to celebrate LEGO's Blockbuster video-themed booth, which is a very strange collaboration for LEGO to do, but the crazy thing is, there wasn't really one specific type of minifigure given away. They actually were just combined with a ton of other different types of heads and hair pieces, so really the only exclusive part was the torso, and my copy, of course, I had to just put on my own Sig Fig's head on it because I felt that made the most sense. And then in 2024, just this year, we technically got 3 exclusive minifigures, although really by definition, it was basically just 1. But if you really want to think about it, technically we got 4, and well, let me explain. Here's the deal. I was actually a part of San Diego Comic-Con 2024 representing LEGO officially. I got a chance to be part of the LEGO booth, which was super awesome. I gave a panel on LEGO Masters, which was a ton of fun, and I did a signing event where I actually was giving away some minifigures at Comic-Con. But here's how this worked. I didn't even really get to give these away myself. I was part of a signing event where a worker at the LEGO booth was giving these away to people who attended, and these are exclusive LEGO Masters torso minifigures. Since then, I have been shown a black and white version of the figure, as well as a black torso with a white logo on it. To my knowledge, the black and white version and the white logo ones were never released publicly ever, and they're just test minifigures. I don't know what the story is behind those, and I don't even have a photo because I thought they would be released at some sort of other event I would be at, and they weren't, so I don't really know what the story is behind the other two versions. I just know some folks who worked on LEGO Masters as the cast and crew got it, but I certainly did not. So let's just focus on the colored logo. These are plain white minifigures, plain white heads. They almost look like prototype minifigures, and it's just such a bizarre promo. It feels almost a little last minute, but essentially how it worked is that 3 different versions of this figure were given away. One with yellow legs, one with white legs, and one with red legs. And essentially, based on my calculations, and this was just kind of loose monster math given that I was given some to give away to other people who had worked on LEGO Masters or other cast members, and I think I sort of counted how many I thought were given away. To my knowledge, around 80 to 100 exist, or at least are out there in the public, that I know of. There may be many more, I really don't know, but that's what I know right now. There's around 80 to 100, and it's very, very limited. Now, I have seen copies of these sell for upwards of $2,000 on eBay, although again, since most people didn't even know it was happening, most of these are not even available online anymore, and it is super hard to figure out what the value of these figures are. Given that LEGO Masters, honestly, and this is speaking as someone who was a contestant on the show and actually won LEGO Masters Season 4, LEGO Masters isn't a super big thing in the AFOL space. I think even like Ninjago is way more popular. I can't imagine that this is going to be as popular as something as the different colored version of Ryu, but I still think it is a cool exclusive figure to get, and definitely a very interesting one to see. Also given away as part of this, outside of just a signing, these figures were given away as part of a promotional raffle. If you were the first to come bright and early in the morning and actually do a scavenger hunt around the LEGO booth, you would receive a prize package including a copy of one of these minifigures, as well as an early release version of the LEGO Fortnite Cuddle Team Leader Bear. Technically, this is exclusive because the head underneath was not the finalized version that would later appear in the LEGO Fortnite Battle Bus, and instead, this was using just a plain white head. So, if you really want to get technical, this is also an exclusive figure, although, to be completely honest, like, come on, is it really an exclusive figure if it really is just the standard version with a plain white head and not the actual head that comes with it? I don't know, that's up for the crazy collectors to decide, but technically, this wasn't exclusive, and it was being sold on eBay for hundreds of dollars because that was very, very early in the summer compared to the October launch of the LEGO Fortnite sets. Before we wrap up here, there is a completely different category of extremely exclusive minifigures that technically are event exclusives, even though those events are completely not open to the public whatsoever. And those are the LEGO Manager Conference exclusives. Essentially, every single year, LEGO hosts a manager conference for people who are managers at official LEGO brand retail stores. And starting in 2015 going up to 2018, they had an exclusive minifigure included for all of these events, which technically isn't really supposed to be sold, but you know how it is, sometimes they make their way to the secondhand market here and there, and that's how I was able to pick these up. Nowadays, starting in 2019 onwards, they actually shifted away from exclusive minifigures and decided to make exclusive sets instead, and I've done a completely separate video doing a deep dive on some of those items in case you want to check that out. However, given that the packaging is identical to Comic-Con minifigures, specifically identical to the rare 2013 Comic-Con minifigure packaging, which is very, very interesting how they did that, and how they basically are packaged the exact same way, I figured it made sense to include them on this list, even though the event to get them is a lot more limited than even something like Comic-Con, meaning that each of these figures could go for around $3,000 to $4,000 and sometimes even $5,000. We'll start off with 2015. We have a zombie minifigure, and what's really cool is they actually did do a male and female version of the zombie. All of these are sort of themed around LEGO Store employees for the most part, with one exception, and that's why this is a zombified LEGO Store employee wearing the iconic LEGO Store apron with the rips and tatters in it, and I really like that in particular, you can literally use this zombie almost as if both heads work because, again, it makes sense for a zombie to be holding another zombie's head, so it really does work for a figure like this. I really like the detail and the printing on these, and it definitely feels the closest to LEGO's style compared to the other minifigures. In case you don't know, LEGO produced all of these Employee Manager Conference minifigures with a third-party custom minifigure company, so technically they've been made by somebody who isn't even LEGO. I believe it was Citizen Brick or Firestar Toys, one of those custom LEGO minifigure creators, which is why they're actually pad printed. You can tell by the type of printing, and the actual graphic design is a little bit not quite on LEGO brand, which is probably why LEGO stopped doing these. Still, that being said, they're fascinating pieces and technically officially commissioned by the LEGO group and given away at an official LEGO event, making them definitely fall into the official LEGO category. In 2016, we got my favorite one yet. That's right, he's Zach the Lego Maniac. Zach the Lego Maniac was a staple of 90s LEGO commercials. 80s and 90s commercials where basically he would be jumping around on screen advertising the latest LEGO sets, be it Space, Castle, Technic, here and there, you name it. If it was a LEGO item, Zach the Lego Maniac was advertising it on TV. And he's a very iconic piece of the LEGO advertising brand. He's almost kind of like the older version of the Win Kid or something like that. So it's really cool that they actually made him into a minifigure. You can see he has a sand blue jacket with the LEGO logo on the back. It has Zach printed on the inner shirt, although of course just AC is showing, and he has his iconic sunglasses as well that he often wore in the commercials. So far, this one is a really solidly produced minifigure, and again, since the eyes are covered up by the sunglasses, it actually does pass as a standard LEGO minifigure graphic design-wise, which the other ones don't necessarily do. That brings us to the next year in 2017, where we got the magical LEGO brand retail brick specialist, aka the magician LEGO employee. This one did actually come with a separate hairpiece that you could use in case you wanted to have the hat separately as an accessory to pull the rabbit out of the hat. It also has a printed playing card, and again, it is that classic LEGO store employee apron, just this time with a name tag and a bow tie, plus a little bunny to boot, just to add on to the detail of this minifigure to be able to pull the friend's bunny out of the hat. To me, the face is a little uncanny. It definitely does not jive with LEGO's brand principles of the way they depict minifigures because, again, this technically wasn't made by LEGO. It was made by a third-party company contracted by LEGO, putting it in a little weird gray area for LEGO exclusives. And because of that, the eyes just aren't really quite like the LEGO style, but I still think it's really cool, and that torso is awesome. Finally, the last one we got was in 2018. Looks like they went to Clayton, Georgia on a camping trip, so they actually had a camper minifigure, and here you can see again that classic LEGO store employee apron with the tan pants and the yellow apron, but this time you actually have a backpacker, so he's got a green hiking jacket as well as a backpack, plus a hat as well and a map showcasing where they were going with LEGO headquarters and the original LEGO destination going all the way out into the mountains, which is super cool. It's a really cool accessory and a nice printed tile to get, and again, this was the last one they did before they started doing exclusive sets, which are a whole different video on its own. Those have all sorts of unique printed elements and unique pieces and builds, so that's kind of a completely different story. But as it is right now, these are some of the strangest minifigures in this list. Really hard to list the value on them, so I'm just going to put them each at around $3,000 and we can go from there. Okay, so with all of that summed up, I'm bound to have missed a couple of items here and there. There are a few stragglers I do want to call out, some of which belong on this monetary list we're counting at the top left of the screen, and others that I feel don't really belong on this list. Starting off, we have to go all the way back to the year 2002. During the World Space Congress in Houston, Texas in October of 2002, two exclusive minifigures were given out, Biff Starling the Astrobot and Sandy Moondust the Astrobot. These had their own official set numbers 3928 and 3929, and they are official exclusive minifigures only given away during this event. A couple of them were also sent to space, although I imagine that getting those back are a lot harder than getting these. To get these right now, it's going to cost you around $150 for either minifigure, given the exclusivity of their torso and legs, and I'm going to count both of them on this list because they are both unique and exclusive. Also, in 2012, we received a LEGO Hobbit Bilbo Baggins promotional bag. It's the only type of cloth bag we have ever gotten as a giveaway of this nature for LEGO, but I'm not going to be counting this one on the list because the minifigure itself is not exclusive. It's just the standard Bilbo Baggins that appeared in the Hobbit sets that would be coming out. Next up, we have the LEGO Dimensions Green Arrow Polybag. This was only given away at E3 on June 14 to 16 in 2016, so while it technically was an event exclusive for some time, it was later given out at GameStop stores, and that's why I'm not going to count this one on the monetary list either, because that would probably mean I'd have to count every single one of the game exclusive promo pre-order minifigures, which I don't really feel like belong on this list. Moving onwards to LEGO internal events, LEGO hosts a Playday event every September, and in 2019 we received the LEGO Playday Polybag. 4000036 had a whopping 5 exclusive minifigures, and I'm going to count all of them all together on this list. The polybag also included some exclusive printed bricks, and it was only given away to employees. Thankfully, because there were so many of these given out, this is only going for around $25 to $30 on Bricklink, which is remarkably cheap, especially for a Playday item. There are 2 exclusive minifigures given out at the 2023 and 2024 events. In the 2023 event, it was a detective theme, so we got a couple of detective minifigures, a male and a female minifigure. The only difference is the head print and the hat piece, which of course is not exclusive to the figures. The only exclusive part is the torso, but these were only given out during LEGO Playday 2023, going for honestly not that much, around $13 to $15 on Bricklink. And then finally in 2024 there was a Playday exclusive minifigure that was again given out with a special Playday 24 print and a little coin to go alongside him. And you can also get this for around $15. Moving on from that, we have the LEGO Employee Design Seminar sets. These are incredibly rare and hard to come by, especially because LEGO employees are not allowed to sell them. In fact, I only was able to obtain my copies by trading LEGO employees' existing sets for them to really make sure we could get the value up and make a deal. The first design seminar in 2023 technically contained a few exclusive minifigures and mini builds, but for the purposes of this video, I'm only going to count one of them, that is the Purple Spaceman. The Purple Spaceman is exclusive because while we did get a Purple Spaceman torso in the collectible minifigures, we never got a full-on Purple Spaceman as an official minifigure until this set, the DS 2023 set. Given the exclusivity of this item, it is genuinely really hard to try and figure out how much this is worth, but people are selling the Purple Spaceman, aka the Dreamer, on Bricklink for around $30 because you can get all of the pieces from existing LEGO sets. Much harder to obtain is the LEGO Design Seminar 2024 exclusive set, which contained 4 exclusive minifigures, 2 of which actually had exclusive prints that do not appear in any other set. These were modern-day LEGO original theme heroes and characters dressing up as older theme counterparts. First off, we have Sensei Wu from Ninjago dressing up as Magisto the Magic Wizard with an exclusive torso print, super special to see that. And then we have Mrs. Castillo from LEGO Dreams dressed up as Willow the Witch from Fright Nights with a brand new print on the special Mrs. Castillo torso element. Next up, we have a space droid, technically like a Spyrius or Unitron droid, dressed up as a Black Falcon. And then finally, we have Johnny Thunder, the modern city version, dressed up as a Forest Man. Although thankfully, the final 2 minifigures can be pieced together. Unfortunately, because of the rarity of the set and the fact that it literally just surfaced online about a month ago, there is literally no sales data on it. However, if you do want to go as a point of comparison, the previous Design Seminar Classic Space set has sold for up to $3,000 to $4,000, so I would imagine it would cost around that much, if not more, because this set actually does have multiple exclusive components, particularly the 2 exclusive minifigures. I don't own this set yet, but I am in talks with a LEGO employee who might be willing to trade it with me, so stay tuned and maybe we'll be seeing me get the set at some point in the future. The Design Seminar 2022 included an exclusive Tamagotchi with a modern version of Pepperoni from the LEGO Island theme, represented as an exclusive minifigure, which I actually did just add to my collection, but I'm gonna have to pick it up in about a year the next time I go to Denmark because that is way too valuable to ship, and once again this is probably gonna go for around $2,000 to $3,000 US. There is one incredibly sought after exclusive minifigure, part of the LEGO Education series, and that is the rapper will.i.am. This is an exclusive official LEGO minifigure given away at the Los Angeles Best Fundraiser in June of 2016, where LEGO Education was a sponsor. The minifigure comes with an exclusive torso and hip print, as well as face print for will.i.am, as well as an exclusively printed collectible minifigure style baseplate. This is one item that I am definitely still hunting for. We know there's around 400 copies in existence. I came very, very close to buying this twice, but sadly, just the deal never came through, so I am still on the hunt, although I do know a couple of folks who do have this, so maybe at some point in the future, I'll be adding this one to my collection. And finally, in the LEGO Inside Tour yearly exclusive sets, there always are a number of minifigures usually included in the sets themselves, although because of the way the minifigures are set up, most of them are just using existing components. There are rarely, if ever, any exclusive minifigure components included in the LEGO Inside Tour sets, so while I guess technically they should be included on this list, I didn't really bother showcasing them because there's quite a lot. For instance, the LEGO Truck Show is 8 exclusive minifigures, technically, but all of them are just generic city pieces kit bashed together, so I felt like it just wasn't really worth showcasing in this particular video. Finally, there is just a random events category of minifigures. I don't really know how to categorize these ones, but well, we're just gonna go right through them right now. There was at one point a LEGO seminar held in Billund by the freediver Stig Severinsen. To go alongside that seminar, a minifigure of Stig was produced, although again, this is not an exclusive figure. The only exclusive element is Take a Breath printed on the brick in Danish, which I don't really know if that should count on the list, but because it technically has one exclusive component, I guess we're gonna count this one for the list. Next on the list, we have the Big E 2010 minifigure. This was given away in 2010 during the Eastern States Exposition, which is a tradition held in New England around autumn and the 9th largest fair in North America. In addition to that, we also have a Danish promotional event exclusive minifigure, and this is the Danmarks Indamsling LEGO minifigure. This is only given away to employees who actually support the Danish charity, which is meant to have 12 humanitarian organizations come together alongside Danish radio to help people in some of the world's poorest countries. Employees who physically volunteer are given this minifigure, and there's technically a different one every year because they all come with a 2x4 exclusive printed brick that states the year in which the employee was able to do it. And finally, there are exclusive LEGO minifigures given away at the LEGO World Convention in the Netherlands every single year. These conventions used to be hosted and organized by LEGO officially, which is why some of these minifigures officially appear on the list, although now they are more fan-run, but LEGO still does provide some exclusive minifigures now and then. It's pretty much impossible to gather every single one because not every single one is documented, but I just wanted to include at least one example or two on the list. And finally, before folks ask in the comments, I am not going to be counting the employee exclusive gift set minifigures because these are not exclusive to any events, which was the main focus of this list. Instead, they are mailed out to employees of LEGO as well as LEGO ambassadors at the end of the year. So the LEGO Star Wars Yuletide Squadron minifigure as well as the exclusive Ninjago minifigures will not be counted for this list. And finally, in LEGO stores all around China, every time a store celebrates a yearly or bi-yearly anniversary, exclusive minifigures are given out, and while I own many of them, I'm not confident enough to say that I own all of them because most of these are just simply undocumented. Some of them aren't even on Bricklink, so while I've showcased as many as I can, I'm sure I'm going to be missing some, and some people don't even know about, which is why I felt like it didn't really make sense to include LEGO store exclusive minifigures on this list, because then you open up a whole nother can of worms. Sometimes they have printing on the back of their torsos, sometimes they don't, sometimes they have exclusive minifigures, and sometimes they're just regular minifigures that are pulled together from existing pieces in exclusive packaging, which is why I only showed one of those at the beginning of the video. And finally, while I do want to make note of them, factory visit LEGO minifigures like the Kladno factory figure there, as well as figures exclusive to your visits to the LEGO Idea House, which is a separate building than the LEGO house, are not going to be included on the monetary tally of this list because, again, those are not really event exclusives, they are just location exclusives, which is a completely different category, but I still wanted to call some out because some are pretty neat. And with that, we have summed up every single one of the LEGO event exclusive minifigures that I wanted to showcase in this video. Again, as I mentioned, there are a lot of other exclusive minifigures. And of course, there's a lot of store exclusive opening minifigures, which is a completely different category. I just wanted to showcase that some of them do come in this packaging as an example. But for all things considered, this is pretty much everything. Now, of course, let me know in the comments, what do you think of the entire collection of these minifigures, which ones are your favorites, which ones are your least favorites, and which ones do you wish you owned. This is a very, very interesting collection of figures, and if I had to guess, unless LEGO were to change things again for San Diego Comic-Con 2025, I would imagine we would get an exclusive giveaway character, minifigure, some sort of exclusive item given away at some sort of signing booth panel. It's how it was done this year and last year, and LEGO is showing really no sign of changing that. So if I had to guess, if there's like another LEGO Ninjago panel, maybe we would see that. If there's another LEGO Masters panel, well, first of all, maybe I'd be a part of it, and maybe there would be another LEGO Masters giveaway, but I feel like LEGO might want to do something different. I really don't know what sort of panel LEGO is going to have next year. For all we know, LEGO's going to be promoting a brand new theme. Like, there could be a LEGO Dreams minifigure for all we know, but as it is right now, Comic-Con exclusives are harder to predict and know than ever. And actually, I was told not to tell people about the LEGO Masters figure during the Comic-Con days because they didn't want people swarming the LEGO booth asking for it, which apparently has happened in years prior. It seems like LEGO wants to be a lot more low-key when they're giving out exclusives nowadays, which I guess makes sense. They don't want people to be going just to get the exclusives. They want kids and people who really do care about the minifigures to get them, so I totally do understand that, but that now means it's even harder to even know that these are happening. In fact, Brickset still doesn't even have the LEGO Masters minifig listed because I don't even know if they know that it even happened. So it's a lot harder nowadays to even find out if exclusives are happening, but if I am at Comic-Con next year, you bet there's going to be an update of this video around this time next year showcasing the new version, and as it is right now, we have summed up our look at every single LEGO Comic-Con exclusive minifigure. Let me know in the comments what you think, what's your favorites, what's your least favorites, and what other Comic-Con exclusive characters do you think they should do? Or do you think they should get rid of the practice entirely? That's all for right now, and yes, if you're curious exactly how much money it would cost to own them all, well, you can see the figure on screen. I'm not reading that out loud because that is a number that is way too high, and I do not want to admit that I spent that much money on all these figures. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks, and bye for now.